Hello, hello, hello. Good morning from the Philippines here in Bacong. I'm going to do a short video this morning on the skin tax here in the Philippines. It's alive and well. Now, for you out there that may not know what the skin tax is, that's simply when a foreigner, an immigrant like myself, goes up to like a farm stand or some establishment that doesn't have a set price. They tend to charge you more. And why is that? Well, because they feel that they can get more money, because the perception is if you're an immigrant from another country, you've got money and you've got extra money to spend. So they charge you more money. Now, I've always been told about this, but I've never experienced it prior to living here. And that's probably because, I've lived here for 13 months now, so you're gonna come across a lot more things than you would if you spent 3, 4 weeks here. So I got 3 different examples on skin tax and how it's happened to me. The first time it happened was my wife and I went down to Darwin. There's a market area before you go to Apu Island, where you get the boat to go to Apu Island. So one day, I think it was a Saturday, or I believe, not sure what day it was. But anyway, we went down there and we're looking around. My wife was like, I need to get a new machete. All right, no problem. So we're walking down through all the vendors, and she found a vendor that had machetes. And she's looking it over, and she approved of it. She asked the guy how much it was. And he's kind of looking at her, looking at me, and he says 700 peso. And my wife is like, no, that's way too much money. I'm not going to pay 700 peso. All right, I'll give it to you for 5. And she walked out. She said, no, I'm not going to buy it. So we didn't purchase a machete there at the market. We ended up finding one. I think it was I don't exactly remember where we found it, but we did find another machete, and it was the identical machete, and it was 200 peso. So she saved 500 peso by saying no. Now me, if it was up to me, I probably just would have paid it, thinking, all right, that's the way it is. That's how much it cost. I wouldn't question it because I don't know any different. Whenever we do make purchases, if we go to somewhere where there's not a clearly marked price on it, I let my wife handle all financial transactions here. The second time it happened was at a doctor's appointment here down in Dumaguete. I'm not going to give the name of the hospital, and I'm not going to give the name of the doctor. That's irrelevant. I'm not here to put the attention on people. But I went in. I was like third in line for my appointment, and there's a small waiting area. You sit there, you wait till it's your turn. Usually it's 20 minutes to a half an hour. It's about 10 minutes to go in and see the doctor, get done with what you got to get done and come out. It's basically just a checkup. They basically ask you questions, take your blood pressure. That's pretty much all you do. So I'm sitting there, my first time, and the 2 people come out. They pay the secretary on the way out, and the 2 people prior to me paid 500 peso. So I'm thinking to myself, well, that's pretty good. 500 pesos is less than $10 for a doctor visit. And I'm like, okay. My wife is standing outside waiting for me. So I get my appointment. I come out. And I went to my wife. I said, I'm all set. She says, okay, I'll go in and pay. So she comes in and pays. And she comes out. I'm out in the hallway. I didn't need to be there. She comes out, and then she says, that was expensive. I said, what do you mean that's expensive? She says, 2,500 peso. I'm like, what? Everybody else in there is paying 500. She says, really? I said, yeah. I saw it with my own two eyes. When they paid, the lady said 500, and I said, "Wow!" So I paid 5 times more than a regular Filipino rate, which, I get it. It's probably going to cost me a little more, which is fine. But 5 times the amount is, that's excessive. I don't mind paying 200-300 more. If it was like 800, I'm like, all right, that's fine, whatever. It's still reasonable. But for a 10-minute visit, 2,500 pesos, about, oh boy, it's about $45 American, which that's kind of expensive over here for a 10-minute visit. So I'm like, wow, I guess we won't do that again. So that happened. And then we had another instance about, I don't know, about a week and a half ago. We dropped our truck off at the Ford dealership down in Dumaguete Ford, to have service, oil change and all of that. A complete checkup on the truck. And we had about 2 hours to kill. So my wife's like, all right, let's just grab like a pedicab. We'll go down on the boulevard and we'll have some breakfast while, killing some time. I said, all right, sounds good to me. So we did. She pulled over a pedicab, older gentleman, really nice. And she asked him, she says, how much is it to take the pedicab ride down to the boulevard? I don't know how far it is, but it's not far. And he says, 20 peso a piece, so 40 peso. And she's like, all right, that's real reasonable. Now understand it's one way, because we're going down, he's gonna drop us off, we're gonna eat. So we did, we got down there, we ate our breakfast. And then, now it's time to go back to the dealership to pick the truck up. So she flags down another pedicab. And she says, okay, 2 of us, we need to go to Ford Dumaguete. And the guy says, she says, how much is it gonna be? He looks at her, looks at me, says, 200 peso. And my wife's like, no, forget that. We're not, that's ridiculous. And then she starts walking off. She flags down another one. The guy's like, oh, no, ma'am, 100 peso, it's fine. She said, no, I'm done with you. And she flags another one down, and she asks him how much it's gonna be. And he says, 100 peso. So my wife's like, well, all right. So it's gonna be 100 peso, which in my eyes, I'm not complaining. That's like less than $2. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So she told him Ford Dumaguete. So we're on the way. We get as far as the airport in Cebulan, and he stops. And my wife's like, what are you doing? Oh, we're here. My wife said, no, Ford Dumaguete. It's right down the road. It's not far. We could actually walk to it. And he's like, oh no, you told me for the airport. She says, no, Ford Dumaguete. Well, I can take you there, but it's another 100 peso. I mean, I told my wife, son, we can walk. Well, there was another pedicab driver there, and he kind of overheard everything that was going on. And she told this guy to, pretty much pound sand. We're not, you're taking advantage of us. So he took off. This guy comes over, my wife says, can I help you? He says, yeah, I just got to go down here to the Ford dealership. And he said, yeah, I heard the whole conversation. I can take you down. She said, well, how much you gonna charge? He says, to you, it's 40 peso to you. My wife's, all right. So he brought us down. My wife says, you know what, you're being honest, you're a good guy. She gave him 100. Now you reward people that are not trying to screw you over, per se. So those are the 3 instances I've had since I've been here. It's gonna happen if you spend a lot of time here, if you move here and live here, it's gonna happen to you. As a matter of fact, when we bought our home here in Bacong, and we bought this home in June of 2023, and what I did was I sent my wife over here. I said, all right, honey, why don't you go to the Philippines, meet with some real estate brokers, and then find us a home. I gave her the budget, and I said, I'm gonna stay home in the States because I know if I go over there, the price is gonna go up. And she said, you're right. So she came over and we saved 4 million pesos on this home. The guy was asking 12 million peso. And she said, I got 8 million peso that I can pay you right now in cash. And he says, that's an insult. I'm not taking 8 million peso. It's worth a lot more than that. She said, okay, no problem. I'm just being honest with you. That's my budget. So next morning he calls right up, calls my wife, says, you know what, I'll take it. He had to go back to Norway. So my wife calls me. I hadn't seen the place, but she sent me video and pictures. I'm like, it's a beautiful place. Why don't you, go to the bank, get a lawyer, go to the bank, let's get this thing closed up. And we did. We closed it within 2 days. But the whole point is, if I had been there, there's no way this guy's he's gonna bend. He's not gonna take any less than the 12. So the moral of the story is, when you come here, have your Filipino wife or girlfriend handle all your transactions. If you're there, they're still gonna try to take advantage of it. But it's gonna work out better. If you go, I'll pay the price. I'm not one to bargain. Okay, this sounds reasonable to me, I'm just gonna pay it. And I think that's probably what happens to a lot of people here. So, okay, that's my 2 cents. I hope that you guys get learn something from this. Don't be afraid to turn the power over to your girlfriend or your wife. It's going to save you some money. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.